Hey everyone, welcome to a deep dive into one of history's most perplexing tragedies. Today, we are exploring a story that took place in the remote jungles of Guyana, a region known for its lush green canopy and hidden mysteries. This isn't your typical tale. Instead, it is a journey into a place that was once considered a paradise but ended in heartbreak. In today's video, we'll unravel the story of Jonestown, a compound that went from being a promising experiment in social harmony into a setting for one of the darkest events in modern history. At the center of this turbulent saga was a man named Jim Jones, who captured the hearts and minds of thousands with his charismatic style and persuasive promises. While his words were warm and inviting, the reality behind them gradually revealed a very different story. We're going to discuss how a community built on dreams and hope turned into a cautionary tale of how power and control can lead to unimaginable tragedy. So sit back and let's start this journey into a world where paradise was transformed into something poisonous and sorrowful. Get ready to uncover hard truths, peeling back layers of charm and despair. Imagine stepping into a world where nature's beauty is overwhelming, yet hidden behind every leaf and vine lurks the potential for mystery and danger. In the heart of Guyana, a country bursting with vibrant wildlife and untamed landscapes, the jungle is more than just a backdrop. It is a living, breathing character in its own right. The dense canopy filters the sunlight into a soft, green glow, creating an almost magical atmosphere. However, within this seemingly enchanted environment, isolation and secrecy thrive. It was here, deep in this remote jungle, that a compound emerged, built not merely on bricks or concrete, but on the fervent hopes and dreams of its inhabitants. The compound, known as Jonestown, was set apart from the rest of the world. Its location was chosen deliberately to provide a barrier, both physical and psychological, isolating its residents from the distractions and doubts of modern society. The lush scenery offered a sense of tranquility and endless possibility, yet those very same features made it easy to hide inconvenient truths. This alluring but remote spot became the canvas on which a complex narrative of faith, control, and desperation was painted. People came to Jonestown seeking refuge and a fresh start, lured in by promises that blended idealistic visions with an almost tangible sense of community. But within the abundant greenery and peaceful sounds of wildlife, a darker reality was steadily taking shape, one where freedom gave way to manipulation, and the natural paradise began to reflect the inner turmoil of its followers. As we journey further into this story, keep the image of lush, vivid jungles in your mind. Let the contrast between nature's beauty and human frailty remind you that sometimes even paradise holds secrets that can turn deadly. The vastness and mystery of Guyana create an almost surreal feeling, as if the very land itself is hiding stories untold. Every rustle in the foliage, every distant animal call, adds to the suspense of living in such isolation. This haunting environment, while beautiful and inviting from afar, gradually exposes its darker elements to those who dare to uncover them. The interplay of light and shadow in the jungle mirrors the dual nature of human ambition and vulnerability, making it the perfect setting for our tale of lost hope and uncontrolled power. Every moment in that dense wilderness invites us to explore life's profound contrasts and hidden perils. Let's dive into the intriguing early life of Jim Jones and discover how he evolved into a leader with an almost magnetic charm. Born in Indiana to a troubled background, Jim's childhood was marked by poverty, neglect, and isolation, factors that would later shape his ambition and yearning for recognition. As a young boy, Jim discovered the power of faith and words, often speaking with fervor in small communities and gathering anyone willing to listen. His early experiences were filled with dreams of a better life and a world where everyone could be equal, a vision that felt possible even when the odds were stacked against him. With every sermon, Jim's confidence grew, and he became increasingly convinced that he was destined for greatness. The passion reflected in his eyes was not just a charming quirk, it was the beginning of what would become a dangerous ideology. Slowly, his message started to resonate with people who felt marginalized or left behind by society. His ability to weave stories of promise and hope captured the imagination of individuals searching for belonging. As his following grew, so did his influence, and Jim transformed from a passionate preacher into a charismatic figurehead. With a warm smile and a persuasive tone, he reassured his audience that together they could build a community that defied the limitations imposed by the outside world. Yet beneath the surface of his appealing rhetoric, seeds of paranoia and absolute control were beginning to take root. This early era of his ministry was marked by a delicate balance between genuine compassion and a growing obsession with power. Many saw him as a savior, a beacon of light in turbulent times, never suspecting that the same qualities that drew them in would eventually lead them down a path of no return. In this phase, Jim Jones not only established a connection with his followers through shared dreams, but also laid the groundwork for the future transformation of his message into something far more controlling and ultimately tragic. His early journey was filled with promises of unity, yet foreshadowed a spiral into darkness. After establishing his personal vision, Jim Jones took the next big step by founding the People's Temple. Inspired by his own experiences and driven by a desire for social justice, he envisioned a community where everyone could belong, regardless of race, class, or background. In the turbulent 1960s, when the call for equality and integration was louder than ever, the People's Temple offered a welcoming refuge for those searching for acceptance. With an emphasis on togetherness and shared responsibility, his church became a melting pot of diverse individuals. People found hope in his words and a promise of a better future. As more joined, the community thrived on mutual support and idealism. The People's Temple quickly grew from a small, local group into a wider movement, drawing people from all walks of life who were eager to be part of something revolutionary. Jones organized communal living arrangements, collective work projects, and shared rituals that reinforced a strong sense of unity. His gatherings were vibrant and filled with energy, where discussions of equality intermingled with aspirations for societal change. Yet amidst the optimism, there was an undercurrent of control. As the temple's ranks swelled, so did Jones's influence over his followers' lives. What once started as an emancipatory movement gradually morphed into a system where questioning and dissent were not easily tolerated. Routine activities began to carry an air of strict discipline, and the line between voluntary community and imposed order started to blur. The emphasis on collective welfare sometimes overshadowed individual freedom, pushing the community into a territory where personal desires were sacrificed for the greater good. While many were genuinely inspired by the promise of social reform and communal living, few could have predicted that this very experiment in unity would eventually take a dark and tragic turn. Jim Jones's People's Temple was expanding rapidly, transforming from an inspiring symbol of hope into an intricate web of loyalties, expectations, and emerging control. Over time, the foundation of trust began to crack as control tightened, revealing that the initially bright vision concealed a more complex and foreboding reality. Indeed, unexpectedly, life in Jonestown was a blend of promise and stark reality, where the allure of a utopian society clashed with the harsh constraints imposed by an increasingly authoritarian regime. Residents were greeted each day by the overwhelming beauty of the jungle, a natural wonder that seemed to promise endless peace and self-sufficiency. Yet, behind this alluring facade lay a tightly regulated routine. Daily activities were meticulously organized, leaving little room for individual freedom. The compound was divided into sectors with designated roles and responsibilities, each designed to contribute to the collective ideal. While communal meals, shared work, and group prayers painted a picture of unity and purpose, individual voices were gradually being stifled. Residents began to notice that the initial spirit of freedom was being replaced by an atmosphere of strict oversight and conformity. The pleasing sounds of nature were interspersed with constant reminders of Jones's authority, as his speeches played on loudspeakers throughout the compound day and night. Personal identity became secondary to the collective mission, a mission that demanded complete loyalty and unquestioning obedience. Within Jonestown, even simple acts of communication were suspiciously monitored, and dissent was met with severe consequences. As friendships formed and families settled into the communal lifestyle, a subtle undercurrent of anxiety took hold. The very elements that initially brought comfort soon became tools of manipulation. The idyllic natural environment served as a cloak, hiding the growing tyranny within. Dreams of a harmonious future were shadowed by the reality of daily control and surveillance. In this delicate balance, the residents' hope for a better life was continuously undermined by the oppressive rules. What seemed to be a paradise on the surface slowly revealed itself as a meticulously arranged trap, where the price of freedom was the surrender of individuality and self-determination. A somber reality quietly prevailed. Over time in Jonestown, unsettling warning signs began to emerge, slowly eroding the seemingly peaceful charm of the compound. Jim Jones's warnings about external threats and conspiracies were delivered with a fervor that bordered on obsession, and his rhetoric grew increasingly paranoid. Those once comforted by his promises began noticing inconsistencies and unusual behaviors. Late-night assemblies emphasized fear and vigilance, while discussions about potential government interference grew more frequent. Residents were urged to report any sign of dissent, and everyday conversations were scrutinized for hidden disloyalty. Daily life turned into a careful dance of observation and self-censorship, with people constantly second-guessing each other's intentions. The initial enthusiasm gradually gave way to an underlying anxiety. Relatives outside the compound, alarmed by troubling reports, voiced concerns about the strict control over their loved ones. Rumors of forced labor, severe punishment for minor infraction, and the disappearance of outspoken critics deepened the feeling of dread. Even casual wanderers within the compound sensed that something was off. Each reassuring word now carried an ominous hint of coercion. This pervasive atmosphere of suspicion made it difficult to distinguish genuine care from imposed loyalty. Subtle cues, a raised eyebrow, a hushed tone, a shared look of worry became the quiet language of the residents. Every sign of questioning was met with stern reminders of external threats, and over time, the trust within the community slowly unraveled. Gradually, a palpable sense of dread replaced hope, as each day deepened the residents' understanding of their constrained reality beyond all measure. Amid growing concerns, Congressman Leo Ryan became a critical figure in the unfolding events in Jonestown. Determined to understand what was really happening, he decided to visit the compound with a group of journalists and concerned family members. When Ryan and his team arrived, they were met with a mixture of welcoming smiles and an uneasy underlying tension. Although the compound appeared pleasant and serene, there were subtle hints that not everything was as it seemed. As Ryan toured the grounds, residents offered reassurances that everything was under control. However, a discreet note reached the congressman from a resident, urging him to take immediate action and help those trapped inside. This secret plea, though quietly delivered, altered the course of events that day. With his inherent sense of duty and concern, Ryan attempted to engage directly with the leadership of Jonestown. His interactions were polite, yet every moment revealed small anomalies, suggesting deeper issues. Pressure was mounting both inside and outside the compound as the investigation prompted questions about the true nature of the community. Meanwhile, media outlets and family members anxiously awaited clarity on what they saw as a dangerous situation. Congressman Ryan's visit was marked by both hope for a peaceful resolution and an increasing awareness of the potential for tragedy. His presence, though calm and methodical, underscored the urgency of uncovering the concealed realities beneath the surface. The investigation set in motion a series of events that would soon lead to an explosive climax, forever etching this episode into the annals of history as a stark warning of what can occur when trust is betrayed and power is misused. This courageous investigation by Congressman Ryan shone a light on dark secrets, prompting urgent calls for reform and justice in a community teetering between hope and horror indeed. Tragedy struck on a fateful day when Congressman Ryan's group prepared to leave Jonestown, setting off a chain of events that would forever alter history. As the group gathered at the airstrip, an unexpected outburst of violence shattered the fragile calm. Gunfire erupted suddenly, and chaos quickly ensued, leaving Congressman Ryan and several of his companions fatally wounded. In that harrowing moment, the compound, which had long appeared to be a peaceful sanctuary, revealed its true dark nature. Jim Jones, whose control had tightened over the community, declared that the time had come for a radical act of defiance. Over the compound's loudspeakers, he issued a chilling order for what he termed a revolutionary suicide, a command that would see nearly every resident take their own life. As poison was distributed among the followers, the scene turned into an unthinkable display of collective despair. Men, women, and even children were caught in the tragic misunderstanding of faith, coerced to consume the toxic beverage. The events at the airstrip sent shockwaves throughout the nation, as families and communities grappled with the sudden loss of 918 lives. The mass suicide, carried out with an eerie sense of calm resignation, left the world in disbelief and mourning. In the chaos that followed, the true extent of the manipulation and control exerted by Jones became painfully clear. His vision of a utopia had transformed into a nightmare, with every life lost marking a somber note in a dark chapter of history. The airstrip tragedy remains a stark reminder of the dangers of blind faith and absolute power. The shocking events that unfolded that day have since become a defining moment, urging the world to reflect on the perils of unquestioned authority and the tragic consequences of cultish obedience. A reminder never to take freedom lightly. In the aftermath, Jonestown became a somber emblem of how dangerously far the quest for utopia can stray. The legacy of Jim Jones serves as a powerful warning. Absolute power and blind faith can corrupt even the most promising dreams. As we reflect on this tragic story, let its lessons remind us to question authority and cherish our freedom. Stay curious, stay informed, and remember that history's darkest chapters often begin in the shadows of hope. Thank you for diving into this story with us, and may its memory inspire vigilance and compassion. Always remember,